Hi, Allison.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm freezing in Texas, which is going to be laughable to all y'all up north,
Is
but
it still, is it,
oh,
I mean, it's only a little laughable. Is it still cold though?
it is cold. And you know what? I grew up north, so I always think I shouldn't be complaining about this, but there's a difference between like ice and snow. And we
Well,
got
no, there is. And then when you're used to it, if you're living in it and you're used to it, then it's a little bit different. Good morning, Kathy. How are you?
I think we rolled out all two ice trucks we own in the entire state of Texas this week.
I know Texas up in Florida.
Yeah.
He's over in Florida just hanging out. Good morning,
I
Jen. Good
messaged him
morning, Kimmy.
nonsense and he goes, "I'm in Florida." And I said, "Much better plan."
I mean, today the kids almost had school canceled. I got in the last two times that I've done my own show, the kids have not had school. I'm like, this was supposed to be for me when you guys were at school. And now everybody's getting called off. But luckily they're still in school this morning.
Well, they'd laugh. They'd actually cry because our kids all got out of school yesterday because of this weather.
I know, like, well, because I have, Tex and Heather that I'm friends with that live down there that I talk to on a regular basis. And they're always like, she was like, well, the kids had, snow day today, and there's not even snow on the
I
like
hit my windshield. We shut the whole state down. This is why
that's
the South lost the war.
but you guys aren't ready for it though either. You guys
No.
aren't used to it. It's not a normal thing. It's not normal to put a ton of money into when you're in Texas. So the hell's going on with Chad over on Facebook? And
Oh boy.
so real quick, let's do like a real quick recap for anybody that does not know who you are. Everyone, this is Allison. Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Real quick synopsis. I grew up in Canada, moved to Texas. I have been here and involved in the various aspects of Texas life, but in the most recent aspect, I've been running a campaign for governor for the state of Texas with Chad Prather. So I've worked with Chad for about 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Through the very first video that he put on the front of the truck, and started popping off about a trip to Walmart.
Yep.
Been here from there, and then I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning on July 3rd and read a tweet that said, "I'm running for governor in the state of Texas." And I went, "Oh, okay, that's what we're doing now."
Everyone say hi to Tex and Aunt. Dads are here watching us.
Oh dear gosh, we're being supervised.
We're being supervised now. Yes. Yes. From the
So
pool, I'm sure. I'm sure they're at the pool.
they are. So I woke up to that tweet that he was running for governor. So it's been
Mhm.
quite the journey from there, and it's been really interesting because it's been very empowering and very exciting to be a part of it and get back into politics. My grandfather was a member of the legislature in British Columbia when I was growing up, and my first memory as a child is sitting on his desk in Parliament watching fireworks go off. So it's kind of come full circle, very full circle.
Do you see this? It was too hot, so they had to come back from the pool.
That's I
Anyways.
feel so bad for them.
So when did you guys get the like how did all that go down with Chad being blocked? Because I mean he's running for governor. He's already got a social media presence pre deciding to run
Right.
for governor. Never had an issue really on the app before then, no?
Um, no, the app is not conservative friendly, as you well know.
No.
So, we've had our bumps and hurdles along the way, but 8 days out from the primary election, he got slapped with a 7-day ban from posting. And while we all know you can't just run an election on social media, it's a huge aspect and part of it. And especially for his campaign, because that's a voter base that can't really be polled. And this is something
Right.
we into is like, all these polls come out and I'm like, well, I could run a poll today that says that I should be governor. Like, it's not hard. You
Right.
numbers say whatever you want. But the beauty of what Chad's brought to the Texas gubernatorial campaign is that he's bringing first time voters and people who don't even know what a primary is.
Right.
They're at the table. Like on November 2nd, we had a runoff election here in Texas. And I got so many emails from people that were pissed that Chad was not on the ballot. And I was like, no, 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 that's not where he's supposed to be yet. Like you have to wait till March 1st.
Right.
You know, we've seen I can't even tell you, like, he was the first candidate to announce to run against Greg Abbott. He said, "That's enough. These mandates are crap. We're done." And
Right.
um, in 18 months, I have met some of the best people in my life. You being one of them. I mean, how would you and I have ever connected before? You know?
Yeah. No, I know. I think, and that's why it's like a love hate for social media, right? Like,
Yep. So we've gone to stomped all over across the state of Texas. Some days I've asked him if he would rather have run for governor of Rhode Island. Texas is pretty big,
yeah,
but he's done an amazing job at getting out there and talking to people. And my favorite thing is that when we go to events, people are like, "We have to have a hard cutoff at 8:30," and I just crack up laughing. And I'm like, "You got the wrong candidate for that. He's going to stand there and talk to absolutely every single person, address every single issue until they're done, whether they're in favor or against." You know, I mean,
mhm,
it's it. There was a guy who came into one of our events who was a oil field worker, and he was tripping over himself apologizing because he came in there in his like coveralls and steel-toed boots and like head to toe covered in grease, and he was like, "I'm so sorry, I just need to shake his hand and see if this is my candidate." And I have a picture of it, and it's one of those things that every time I get frustrated, I'll just go back and look at it, and I'm like, "This is why you do this," you know.
right. Nope, this is not Chad's wife. This is
No,
Allison, but she does work on the Chad Prather campaign and is significantly involved.
I do get asked if I'm his wife quite a lot, and I just say I'm his work wife. So when he pisses me off, I send him home. So
That's all right. Me and Tex get it all the time
there
too
you
when we go live. They're like, your wife's so pretty. And he's like,
I
no,
know. That's what Chad said. He goes, "Somebody said, your wife's so nice." And he goes, "Huh?"
my wife's not even here.
Oh, dear
So
God.
what's do we have any updates? So for those of you who may
Um,
not know, you were on with us on Freedom Fam a couple of weeks ago in regards to your grandparents who are currently up in Canada, and you and your siblings were making some pretty tough calls and things like that. And I know that you are struggling with that. Is what's going on with all of that right now?
it's my parents that are up there.
Or your parents, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Yes, there are some updates. The Freedom Convoy that went through Canada, as we all followed and watched. I mean, I think I lost hours of my life to TikTok on that, but
Oh, and worth every
every
single bit of it.
single minute. Every time my husband would look over, he goes, "Why are you crying? Is there another trucker video?" I'm like,
Yep. Get you all on your feels.
um, so that kind of rolled some changes through Canada where they're lowering some restrictions. The problem is it's very much gaslighting in the fact of what they're doing because they're lowering some of the provincial restrictions that really don't make any difference.
What do you mean?
So, like, they're lowering, like, you don't have to have a vaccination card to go to the grocery store anymore.
Okay.
Really doesn't help the fact that I still can't get my parents across provincial lines, which are our state lines, let alone US border. So get this. My dad can come across the border if he goes by land, not air,
Okay.
and because he's a US citizen.
Right.
My mom, who's a Canadian citizen, cannot. Yeah, figure that out for me. So now we have an immigration lawyer involved, and we're trying to go down the proper path to make this happen. But I don't understand how a U.S. citizen could cross the border into the U.S. and back into Canada, and a Canadian citizen can't cross
No.
into the U.S. and can't get back into Canada. Where do you go then?
What is that? I mean, what is immigration lawyer? What are you hearing from them on this? How
There's
much can they do?
Well, we're trying to get green card status essentially for my mother. There's some legalities that go around the fact of how long my dad lived in the United States and how long he's been in Canada, and it's really tricky. But like even these immigration lawyers are saying like they're seeing court dates that are 2.5 years out, and our frustration. My dad's sick. He's got cancer. He's not getting the treatment he needs. We want to get him down here, but how do you?
Right.
I mean, they've been married for 55 years. I mean, how do you take one and they're in a spot where too, like my brother is in British Columbia. He can't get over to Alberta to even take care of him.
What now? Why is that? I don't understand.
Provincial lines are closed, so you can't cross provincial lines without vaccination status. He drove. Well, I don't want to get him in trouble, but
But they're around times.
There's a couple spots where you can drive about 10 or 12 hours out of your way and get through provincial lines. But it's to the point where, like, in Texas, I'm an hour and a half from Oklahoma, and I couldn't cross the Oklahoma border. And you know, our lovely best friend Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergency Measures Act and started freezing.
Then removed it, right? Didn't he lift it?
Yes.
Right after it went through. Was it just like a flex? Like, I can do this to you, so watch yourself? Well, what was the point of that?
He invoked it, which gave him massive government overreach. Not that he doesn't already take it, but it gave him all the power. And then there was so much backlash from the conservative side of Canada, and even the liberal side of Canada said, whoa, this is too much. Like, no, we're not okay with this. So they took it out. But again, it was the same sort of thing of, like, they put an emergency act in power, didn't actually use it, and then took it away. So it did absolutely nothing. So it's just this big grandstanding. And then the guy gets on the main, like, holds a press conference like DC would be ashamed of, and says that, you know, we're not.
I don't know. Did you see Joe Biden's yesterday? It wasn't very good.
True. The two of them together would just be dumber.
Would implode. My brain would implode.
But he got on the press conference and said, you know, we're not going to support Russia and this whole situation that's going on, because we're here for democracy and we want citizens to have the right to voice their opinions and all of this stuff. And I think all of Canada just, like, screeched the brakes and said, excuse me, sir? Like, they've got Tamara Litch, who is the soccer mom that started this whole thing.
Okay, yes.
So she fired this off in British Columbia. And I mean, this is like, she's involved in the trucking industry. She's involved in the political scene. But she's just like you and me. And just said enough is enough. Put it all together, organized the whole thing, got arrested in Ottawa, and out of all of the people that they arrested and processed in Ottawa, they pretty much just, like, booked you and released you for criminal mischief.
That's what I was, and I was low-key jealous, because I used to joke around all the time about how I wanted, like, a menacing charge or a mischief charge, just because it's funny. It's a funny thing to have on your record to me. But I had seen reports that they were not even booking them sometimes, but putting them in a vehicle, driving them 15, 20 minutes out, dropping them off and being like, knock it off, don't come back.
Yep.
Because they can't charge them.
Right. So they arrested Tamara, who was the leader of, organizer, I shouldn't say leader. She was one of the organizers of this group. And they will not release her on bail because they feel like she's going to offend again. So they
mischief
on a bullshit charge. Oh, where did I go? Am I there? Okay, sorry. They arrested her on a bullshit charge, and now she's stuck in jail. Like, she can't get out.
And her charge was just
I can't hear you again. Oh, hang on, I'll be right back.
Okay, we had a couple of issues with Allison this morning. When her phone is ringing, it's cutting everybody out, kind of like when Aunt was freaking out about it, but it's not allowing it to clear back up for her. So Aunt's on hold for Trudeau. He's on the phone with them now. Is this going up on Instagram text? And
back. Sorry. I need people to stop calling me about this Facebook stuff.
Good, you're good. Facebook's popping off. You're good.
No. Anyway, so it's really kind of scary to realize that she's been arrested on a criminal mischief charge and is sitting in,
still being held for it, because I mean, what's the sentence for that in Canada? It's a misdemeanor, right?
Go harvest some maple syrup. I don't know.
$25 and say you're sorry at that point.
So sorry. But, you know, and the thing of it all too is that they've pretty much cleared Ottawa out at this point in time, but the thing that they don't understand is the videos, if you go look and see, is like the cities are empowered now. So like my hometown of Calgary, Alberta, there are thousands of people there this Saturday marching through the streets, saying this is enough. We're done with this. And you have to understand, like, I'm over here complaining it's 24 degrees in Texas. It's minus 30.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. There's a bigger point to be made.
Tex wants
But
to know
what
if you've baked anything lately.
Okay, everything.
Have you been baking a lot? Is that why he's asking you?
Yeah. Do you want chocolate muffins? Do you want cornbread?
Stress baking?
Yeah, I am. Totally. I've been on the phone nonstop on like conference calls and everything. So they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm baking."
I do that sometimes when I get stressed out, though, too. I'll start baking, or I'll look at really ridiculous desserts that I know that I can't pull off and try to attempt them when I'm stressed out. Like, I'll be on Pinterest, like, I'm going to make a miracle.
Hey, that could be a whole podcast in itself.
Really good. Like baking with Kat.
What
What are your thoughts on the U.S. convoy?
Honestly, I love every part of this movement and every part of what's behind it. I think the U.S. is late to the party. And I also think that the U.S. is over advertising their exact route and where they're going to be and where they're going to go and their destination. And every part of me wishes they just hit like Memphis, Tennessee and split and go to like all the ports of entry, come to the southern border. We could use your help. Do not go to D.C. You're just walking into a trap.
That's what I'm starting to feel like too. And we were talking about it on the podcast last night, and Tex said, why don't you guys just drive all down to the border? Take the wheels off the semi, drop the wheels off your truck, slam it to the ground, and don't move. Like, that's a power move from the people. But nobody's in DC. I mean, we've seen these videos. I mean, nobody's there.
Well, and that's it too. Like, I was getting a lot of people who were asking me, like, where's your Canada update? Because I was posting them every day. And then everybody's like, why aren't you posting the US updates? There's not really updates to post. Like, there's people out there supporting it and cheering it on, but it's nothing like it is in these other countries.
No.
And I don't have a good feeling about it.
I don't. It feels weird. It feels off.
You can park your truck.
It feels like the Russia and Ukraine crap. Like, just something about it just doesn't seem right. And I'm really worried that all these people are going to get into DC and we're going to watch January 6th again, where it just falls to shit and we all get labeled a bunch of things and people get arrested. And then what? Then where are we at?
Yeah, I think it's going to continually be a slippery slope. And I just don't feel like that was probably the right destination. Although I do think that, rolling into town, if you could, for the State of the Union, that's impressive. But I think it would be more impressive if, it was done Canadian style. I don't.
Or even if people would have, like, go to your own state capital on that. Surround all the state capital. I mean, sure, go into DC. Cool. Make a big group to go into physical representation, and then cut them off guard and surround all of the capitals. And then you have every single state saying, we're supporting what they're doing. And,
That's what I was telling someone the other day. And it was my husband. And he goes, what do you think? You're a military strategist now? And I was like, well, after Afghanistan, yeah, I do.
And it's like, I mean, people can come together with ideas, and you never know whose little idea is going to add on to it. And we almost have to be like that with it. We have to be strategic with it. We have to start pretending like we're these like little undercover agents with it.
I agree.
But like you said, but we're all on edge, and it doesn't help because everybody's on edge right now.
Well, and too, I was having a conversation about that the other day. Are we all on edge because we watched January 6th and we feel like they're just like marching into, trouble? Or are we all on edge just because of what's going on right now?
Yeah. And that's kind of that's at least my take on it. That's what I think is, because we're all in like this mass hysteria. Even the ones of us that are like, hey, this is mass hysteria, we're still a part of the mass hysteria because we're still adding to it. But then it puts everybody on edge so much that I don't think we're thinking things through the right way anymore because we're all kind of at this tipping point. Does that make sense? Am I
It
making it make sense?
it makes sense, and it's just become so polarized. Like in Canada, that was a movement. Like that
Canada was beautiful. It was
and
out of nowhere too. For a lot of us, we were like, what the hell's going on in Canada?
of course. I mean, me growing up there, I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen since Terry Fox ran across the country. Like this was epic for Canada. And everybody down here was so sick of me talking about it. And I'm like, you don't understand how big this is. This is like the right and the left coming together in the United States and saying, screw it, we're just patriots and we're pro America and marching through the country. I mean, this really was the thing up there that united the right and the left. And it's unfortunate that down here it's going to polarize the right and the left.
All right, what's this? What we got here? Truckers travel several states when they started taking interstate travel issues for unbags. Going to your own capital won't make a difference.
Yes, it will.
I think it still will. I really do. I think any physical representation of the people, all the way from locally, all the way up to federally, is it. You have to have your voice heard. You have to have your physical presence seen in order for them to understand that you're not happy. I mean, they can know that we're not happy, but physically going out there and standing, it does make a difference. Whether they say it doesn't or not, it does. And a lot of these things are local level. They're up to the state. There aren't many federal mandates as of right now, no?
No. And that's something else too, is like people need to realize that would make a huge statement. And it's election season. It's midterms. Like these people need to be called out. I don't care how many flyers I get in my mailbox. I don't care how many signs I drive by. Like these people need to be aware that America's waking up and paying attention to what they're doing and not just watching their commercials and going, "Oh, yeah, he looks like a great guy." This has gone too far.
Yeah, no. And I think it has to be like interrogation style with who you want to be the governor of your state at this point. Like I feel like every year we kind of say that, like, this is the most important election that we've had, and we've said it so many times that it's not believable anymore. But like, hey guys, this one probably really is. Like, things aren't looking too good right now anywhere. And then a lot of people don't understand how important like midterms are, or how important primaries are, or how important it's just the presidential election that they want to take part in, and that's it.
I told Tex the other day, I don't know how many times I've used that meme of like the little cute little ladies standing around going, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works for primary elections. Like it's saved under my favorites on my phone because people just don't understand. And for us here in Texas, and I know you guys too, like this is probably our most important election in recent history. Our sitting governor, is I know Tex just laughed.
Wheels.
Hot Wheels. He is running and he's never been opposed ever. Like every single political rung he's climbed, he's never been opposed. And he's been primed to run for president. This is what's happening. Well, he pulled a whole goose egg zero at CPAC, and Ron DeSantis has ruined all of his plans, which is just fine with me. But so he's still campaigning out here, but he doesn't know what to do with opposition. So we've got a whole war on the right side of things, and we've got like people that are far right-wing conservatives.
I mean, yeah,
I don't agree with
you're far right.
Right. And I don't agree with either one on everything, and you don't have to. That's fine. That you do you, boo. But we've got these groups that are out there, and now he has three competitors that it's three dominant competitors, right. Chad, Alan West, and Don Huffines, that are running against him to hopefully primary him. And the vote for the primaries, you have to get him below 50% to force a runoff. And the agreement between the other three campaigns is whoever gets him below 50% off, jump on board, off we go. Like there's a greater mission here. Right. But then the other side of things in Texas, you've got Beto Francis O'Rourke, who's decided to rear his head again, who doesn't, I don't think has a legitimate chance, but he's a very good fundraiser, so the Democratic Party is going to love having him in play. He'll raise a lot of money and make a lot of press for them. But so this is a really critical time for Texas, and especially we have a government right now who's claimed that they had the 87th legislative session, which was the most conservative in history.
Yeah,
And
Greg Abbott ads up here in Michigan.
what?
Yeah, I've seen him too on Newsmax here in Michigan. I've
Oh,
seen Abbott ads.
well, he's campaigning in California, so that makes sense. Whatever.
Facts, Jen. He needs to stay home and breastfeed his kid and just.
Oh, well, you can go to Beto2020 or Beto22.com and you can find out everything you need to know because it goes to Chad's website.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you.
Late one night when I couldn't sleep, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy this website.
Best purchase ever. Best purchase ever. Those are my favorite little moves that we do. Like I love seeing that stuff. I do.
It's been interesting, but it is a very important year for Texas, and Texas, of course, because we have our southern border wide open.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you guys should really just start putting up like little tourist podiums at the border with leaflets as they come into America, so they know where to go.
We basically have. I was down there in Del Rio in Valverde County earlier this year, and it was surreal because there I am in cowboy boots and a dress with a plate carrier on, bulletproof vest, and watching the cartel run drug boats across. Counted 15 before I finished a cup of coffee, and then watching like little kids.
I don't know how you watched it like that. It would be maddening.
It's probably, yes, it is maddening. And it's also so frustrating because the people that I know that live down there, like they've lived down there for years. Like these kids are running around going to school in the bus stop in a plate carrier. They're wearing a bulletproof vest to go to the bus stop. Like this is ridiculous. Friends down there have a 17,000 acre ranch, and they're waiting to spring to go out and search and find out how many, skeletons they find, because that's just normal for them. And I'm like, this is not normal. This should not. But you just watched it, and when we walked down there, like I was standing on the border, like on the river edge, just watching people play and have picnic lunches. Like this is just totally normal. And then just come on over, drop their clothes off. They just leave them on the side of the road, and they already have a backpack with new clothes on, jump in border patrol vehicles like it's Uber, and off they go. I mean, maybe that's how I get my mom and dad in, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way. And then they can get money. They'll get, a big allowance and free healthcare. And
it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? We got to sit down with several of the border sheriffs down there, and it was just almost overwhelming to listen to them talk. And my favorite one was a gentleman who was the sheriff of Valverde County, and he's a Democrat. And just listening to him talk, he said, I don't agree with everything Trump did, but my job and my citizens' safety was better at that point in time. He said, this is a disaster. And he's at the age, like, he's like my dad's age. And I was like, why aren't you retired? And he was like, I can't leave my community in this situation. He goes, I ran for election to leave it better, not worse. So, it was kind of, that was another.
But you gotta like love those moments though, because they give you hope. You know what I mean? Because I feel like because it's so polarized, and because a lot of us use social media in order to get things out there, it becomes even more polarized. And you're like, no, everybody from the left is out to get us. Everybody, if they clicked Joe Biden, they hate us and they want us dead. And it's like that's not really the way that it is out there. At the end of the day, I feel like it's just you got good people and you got bad people on both sides.
Absolutely. And I've met some of each. It's been wild. But I think I'm sorry.
Do you ever just like sit back and remember what it was like 2 years ago? Like what was your biggest issue 2-3 years ago, at least for me, was like if I was gonna get off work on time that day. I wasn't thinking about these things because my life was good. It was genuinely good. I was working. My kids were in school. I was helping people. My husband's work was booming. Like everything was great. And I never would have Never would have seen this coming in a million years. In a million years, I would have laughed my ass off if someone would have been like, there's going to come a time where y'all are wiping your fucking groceries down before you bring them in the house. And everyone's going to wear a mask and be like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, and you know, I think the thing of it all too is that it's kind of surreal to look back and realize how clueless we were. I guess honestly, I mean,
So
bliss.
did you fall for any of it? Did you fall for like, because I've met people that are like, nope, I was like anti this from the rip. I knew from the rip. Like, was there any part of it that you kind of fell into?
I mean, I think I fell for that first 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing. Like, okay, you want me to stay at home with my kids for 2 weeks? I can do that. That sounds fun. We got lots of games. But
Right.
after that, I was like, nah. And on top of it, like through the middle of all of this, I had a major medical scare. So I was in and out of the hospital for about 6 months of that COVID time. So the peak time. So I was in COVID ICUs, even though I never had it.
Right.
So after getting out and dodging all of that, no, I didn't. I was like, no, forget it.
Totally fell for it.
I,
I did. Like I was working in long-term health at the time, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, these like scary, intimidating people come into my facility,
yep.
and like I'm, so and so with the CDC, and I'm like, oh, that sounds intimidating, and they lay it. And I was working so much, like I wasn't watching the news, I wasn't on social media, I was at work all the time, and I would come home, take my scrubs off in the garage, put them in the brown paper bag, wouldn't touch my kids before I showered, and then I would go touch them. I even, for about 2 weeks, wiped my groceries off before I brought them in. And now all I can do is just like laugh at myself.
How do you think this has affected your kids? This is what I think about. I have 3 daughters.
I am horrified for what we've done to them because we can't you're gonna get me because like we can't undo this. We can't. Like all we can really do going forward is like overly educate them on what happened and do it carefully and make sure that they're really seeing the importance of what happened so that it doesn't ever happen again. My oldest daughter, it was her senior year when all this happened. So no prom, no graduation. And mind you, like me and her dad, we had her when we were 18 and 19 years old. So for her to do so well and graduate with such high grades, and she got accepted to a really good college out here, was a big deal because she broke the odds, right? Of like this product of a teenage pregnancy, like go do you. And she didn't get shit for it. She got nothing. We did the best that we could. She became very depressed to where she wound up moving in with a friend during COVID. She was like, I can't do this. I have to have social. I have no social. It's really getting to me. She doesn't do well with online school. She thrives socially. And she's going to school to be a teacher. And it's all social. Her, I'm not too worried about. I think that like she'll push through. And she became like a really hardcore Republican during and voted for Trump for the first time voting, which was crazy to me. But my little ones, they scare me just because of the way that things come out of their mouth so naturally. Like the masking, it's very like normal to them. They were like, well, we have, we'll have to wear a mask here and that's okay. And we'll do that. Like, it's fine. It's like, well, it's not fine. That's why you're not doing it. But then like, I don't think they'll ever comprehend what happened. My daughter's speech delay is just, it's bad. Like she's regressed really badly developmentally. Because I don't know if you know, like she's on the autism spectrum and she was born with a condition called Chiari malformation. So it's when the back portion of your brain descends into your spinal cord.
Oh,
so like we went through a brain surgery with her it was a 5-hour surgery and she was in ICU for 4 days and it was horrifying. And she was doing really well. And then COVID hit.
Ugh.
It was almost 2 years of no speech therapy, no occupational therapy, because they wouldn't come to the house. but they were like, we can offer it to her on Zoom.
Yeah, that's not
She can't see your mouth. I mean, you guys can't see me articulating my mouth through a Zoom camera the way that you can when you're with somebody, and tongue placement and just the social part of it, you know? And then my son is just, he's not social anymore. He doesn't care. He's totally content with just like chilling on Fortnite somewhere and not engaging with people. And I worry about that because I don't know how to fix all that as a mom. And I don't know how to explain it to them as a mom. Like, how do you even, say that you're sorry for it because we allowed it to happen as a whole, like as a collective.
Well, I think you're doing your part because you're not being quiet anymore, and that's what I think. I had my meltdown when and in Texas our mask mandate got lifted far before everybody else's did. But I picked my daughter up from school the first day they didn't have to wear masks, and she got in the car and she said, "Mom, these kids didn't look like what I thought they'd look like." And I hate that she's in second year into middle school and she's never seen these kids' faces. Like,
No.
this is insane. And
No.
but I think that's the whole thing, and I think that's the beauty of what your platform brings, and why I'm fighting like hell is like, as a parent, you don't know how to explain it, but you do want to know that in 5, 10, 20 years you can say you didn't go along with it, or you at least investigated it and stood up for what you believe is right. And that goes back to that whole polarization thing. It's like, I have friends that are wildly liberal, and you know what, if you can tell me why you believe that and why you stand for that, I respect that.
Absolutely.
You do you boo. That's my mom.
Yep.
I not agree with you.
Anybody in the process. You don't have to hurt anybody in the process, be who you are and do what you want to do over there and just leave me alone, like.
And I think that's what
over here.
American
did you see this with the CDC lowering the milestones for kids?
Yes.
So they are trying to say now that it had nothing to do with the pandemic, that it was just after further studies and things like that. But it's covering up what they did. And the crazy thing is I had wondered, I go, well, wait a minute. What about kids who are already receiving services? What does that do? And I'm not even kidding you. 2 days later, the school called and they're like, well, we need to have another IEP for your daughter. And I said, okay. I mean, understandable. She went to a new school, but I thought you guys were just kind of honoring her IEP from her previous school because they were enrolled before all the COVID-y stuff. And she said, yep, we're going to kind of go along there, but like some guidelines have kind of, shifted around a little bit. And we just want to make sure that her plan really, really suits her needs. Now with my daughter, I'm not worried about her losing services. Her speech delay is significant for her age. But like, what about, Billy in third grade that has like a mild lisp that now is more than likely not going to qualify? Or, Susie, who isn't reading at third grade level this year, she's reading at first grade level, but that's normal now. And it's like, how many autism diagnoses are you guys going to miss? How many real ADHD cases are you missing? Like, you don't know which one of these kids, and it's all because we did it to them.
You know what frustrates me too on that one is your daughter's lucky because she's got a parent that'll go fight for her and be involved. How many of these kids don't have anybody standing up?
It's intimidating. These IEP meetings are so damn intimidating. They've got like 3 specialists around you and you're the idiot. Yeah. They know what they're talking about. And I fell for that crap for years with her until she came home one day and she's like, I haven't had speech all month. I'm sorry, what?
Well, and that's another thing too with the whole schools section. Like, I mean, my daughter, we did get COVID and it wasn't bad. But I'm not knowingly exposed.
Right. It wasn't a vacation, but
yeah, like we blew through Outer Banks. It was great. But, I'm not going to knowingly expose someone to it. I'm not going to be that person. I believe it is real. I'm going to treat it as real. So she missed 5 days of school for this. goes back in, comes home, and I said, "Where's your homework?" And she goes, "Oh, they said it's fine. I don't have any." You missed 5 days of school. And granted, I love her
Now,
school.
if she would have missed 5 days of school for
There you
strep
go.
throat or for any other thing,
I
that
would.
wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Now on these snow days for kids,
Yep.
not out here, they're not doing it here. Otherwise, I would lose my mind. But I saw now out in my old county, if they have a snow day, they have to get on Zoom
Yes.
on
Yeah.
snow days. And I'm
Well,
like, that is not what's no. That's not what you do on snow days. Like, you're gonna go outside all day long. Like, that's a magical day, a snow day. I remember being so excited for snow days. Come on, what are you doing to these kids?
I have a screenshot saved where I texted my daughter when they put that rule out here that when it's a snow day, you have to go online. And I was like, bah, ha, ha, no snow days for you. But,
I I
I,
don't understand it. Like,
I don't,
just, but
and,
then you're not doing anything either because you're lowering your expectations. You're lowering all of it's a freaking God complex. COVID-19 gave way too many people just this power hungry authoritarianism. This is the way that it goes. Where I got a school teacher yelling at me. Now, I'm not talking down about school teachers, but what I'm saying is we're about the same age, boo. And I would have knocked you out in a bar for less about 2 years ago. Knock
well,
it off. Do
and
your
I,
job.
I feel so bad for those teachers too, because I feel like they're either dealing with parents who are proactive and involved and understanding, or they're dealing with parents that are lashing out. And I don't care on what issue. Like, I think that you're dealing with those two types of parents. And then there's a lot of parents who have decided that school is babysitting. So, they've been frustrating. And don't get me wrong, like, I know that if you get a job, you assume your child's going to be in school from this time to this time. So I get that. But, it's not the school's job to raise your children. And dear God, I hope they don't, because we can see what happens. Like, I'm really lucky that my
We
daughter
too
didn't live.
much power on what they're feeding into our kids and what they're not feeding into our kids.
I'm so lucky that I always say that my daughter is in the wild, wild west of school districts, because they're doing Texas history this year. And when her teacher caught wind of the fact that I was working on, a governor campaign, she got all the other teachers to excuse Kaylee from school for the day so she could go with me to Austin to go file for governor. So I took my seventh grader down to Austin, went to the GOP headquarters, filed all the paperwork, walked through the state capitol building. She picked out her office, said that's where she's going to be.
I love
So I mean, it's really surreal, but at the same point in time, like, you just have to know that there's educators out there that are like, I don't know how she votes. I don't care how she votes. I just know that she knows that it's important to vote.
Right,
So
exactly. And I think that the last school district that my kids were in, it's just such a difference.
yeah,
And
well,
like you can't tell me it's not political. You can't. Nobody can tell me that it's not political because I've got my kids in this county that leans way more left, and they were mask mandates on the bus, off the bus, in the school. They were Zoom, Chromebooks. If you even thought about somebody who had COVID, you need to stay home for 10 days. Like, if you don't even think about them, or you got to stay home for 10 days. And you have to have a negative test to go back.
oh, like,
Come out here and they're like, nah, man, we don't do that mask thing. What's a Chromebook? Like, let's go. Come on. School's in full session, except for the buses. But then I found out, Rebel, like, I thought that school buses were public transportation. I thought they fell underneath that line, and they don't.
oh, I wouldn't have known that either.
Right. So I guess she's got some paperwork and stuff like that, but to where it is up to the school, essentially, I believe. So they're kind of screwing up there, because here you can go to school with no mask on. There's no mandates,
Yeah, here too.
but you have to on the bus.
Let me tell you, I had a come to Jesus talk with my entire volleyball team of crew that I carry around, because there was a girl who showed up for a volleyball game with a mask on, and they were all like, ugh, what? And I was like, no, 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 no.
Oh, you don't get to do it back.
That's what I mean. I'm telling you, I sat all their butts down and I was like, look here, you little punks. I was like, the reason you don't have to wear one is because she gets to wear one. You don't get to pick and choose.
Right.
You don't get to judge her. You leave her alone. And they, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And I was like, all right, let's go.
I
But
know my kids came home like that the other day. They were like, she was wearing a mask. And I was like,
yeah,
so
let her.
leave her alone. And it's probably not even her. It's her psycho mom that's feeding COVID bullshit into her head all day long. Like
Well,
her alone.
yes.
Let her wear a mask. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Because
the,
then it makes us better. It makes us know better, and it starts the whole damn problem all over
thank
again.
you. And that's the frustrating thing. Like it takes all kinds of kinds. You should be able to do what is best for you. And that's why we're all on this, like pro freedom movement. And that, everybody's like, oh, you're anti-vax. I'm like, I don't give a crap what you do with your own body. You do you. If you want to get it, get it. But I don't feel like you should have to have it in order to retain your career. Like,
Right.
I mean,
I'm anti-mandate. I'm not and I have friends who are anti-vax
right.
and used to think that they were crazy. I did. I used to think that anybody that was that far anti-vax was a loon town. But then I looked a little bit more into it and I'm like, wait, why are we giving them so many more now? And now I can see why people feel the way that they do. I mean, I still wouldn't consider myself anti-vax, but I'm definitely not rushing to go get 47 of them within a year. We always spaced my kids out really far. The pediatrician hated that we did that. But I mean, that's about as far as I go.
Yeah.
But it's the mandate. If I want a COVID vaccine, I'll go get one. Thank you for offering it to me, much like the flu vaccine and much like the pneumonia and all the things, But when you get to the point where you're telling me that I can't do my job as somebody who works in long-term health to take care of the high risk, are you kidding me? You don't make me do that with a flu shot.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. It's
I'm not saying that, oh my gosh, it's not the flu. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is if you look at the contagiousness and the death rates and things like that, you should be doing it with the flu too, and you're not.
I mean,
So I feel like I have to do that. But I can work with COVID.
yes, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good point because I have a bunch of friends that are in healthcare as well, and my daughter's dad is actually in healthcare, and the spinning wheel of here are today's conditions for how you can work or not work is just stupid. And I have a really good friend who was fired for not getting vaccinated, and she called me last week, and she was, I mean, like cackling like a hyena, laughing so hard. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "No, I'm not okay. They just called me and said that they're so short staffed. Would I consider coming back?" Yeah.
Oh, I knew that was going to happen
Yeah.
though. What? You can't do that. You're not going to get that many people
Oh, I
that
asked her
want
what
to
she
be.
did. She said she hung up on them. I was like, yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
great. Love it. I was wondering, did she go? Did she go? Because
no,
I miss it. That's like I genuinely miss my job. I loved my job more than anything. It's all I ever wanted to do was to work in hospice and long-term care. That's what I've wanted to do. But I can't in good conscience be a part of this while keeping my job. You know what I mean? Like I can't if it like with the flu shot, right? I never really wanted to get it, but I did work at two places that required it. So I do know that there are some that require the flu shot. Whatever. I went and got it. Cool. There weren't forced mandates going down at that time. It was just me. Do you want to work here? Cool. If you do, we're going to need you to get a flu shot. If, otherwise you got to find somewhere else. All right, whatever. No biggie. I'll either get it or I won't get it. But when like with the COVID vaccine, I knew that if I did that, that I was setting my kids up, your kids up. Like it was much more serious this time because you've got your president that's literally like if you don't get vaccinated, you're the devil and you're killing everybody. And there's too much to it now, and I can't set my damn kids up like that. I just can't. I can't be like, oh, mom loves her job and wants to keep it, so I'm gonna get it. But now you have to. Like, I can't be a part of that.
I have a friend that's in Canada who has worked for years on education and everything to open up like an orthodontics practice.
Mm-hmm.
Wildly successful, favorite in the area. Paid his entire staff all the way through COVID, and they were shut down way longer than we were. Just a great example of what you would want to do. And he's at the point where now he's going to lose his entire practice over this. And there's a group of people that have come together to sue the British Columbia government to try to go against that. But like, you're getting to the point where like these people have been in school for 11 years to create a career. This is a livelihood.
It's I find that with like medical, you either have people that are in it for kind of the money, or like I don't know, a bunch of Grey's Anatomy super freaks, or you have people that just genuinely really love people and really want to take care of people. And
do you think we're going to see a pop-up of almost, I mean, I don't even know how this would work, but I was talking to Tex about this the other day too, like almost a subgroup of individuals where if someone needs your help, we know you're wildly qualified. My grandma needed help, my dad needed help, I could call you and I could go, and you'd be an independent. Do you think you're going to start seeing that type of network pop up? I do too.
I hope to God, because you hear whispers of it. Like I've heard whispers of it. I haven't seen anything substantial in front of my face telling me that it's happening, but I have had, comments or engagement from other people that are saying, this doctor that worked here, he walked away and now he wants to start his own practice. But you saw like the telehealth boom, right?
Oh yeah. Which I'm not really mad about that.
I'm not mad about telehealth. I am mad that like when it comes to certain doctor's appointments when they were pushing me into telehealth, I'm like, bro, you can't do this over Zoom. Knock it off. Like, stop.
I get that.
Like therapy and things like that, I think it's great. Or like I have to check in with my team of doctors, and it cuts all of that in half when I can meet them all on one Zoom call, as opposed to like 4 or 5 appointments throughout a 3-month period. So I do like that. But I mean, we could essentially take the telehealth idea that they've come up with and create a network of people. And I know that Strictly Patriots is working on that for a while. And I know that there's other websites that have been trying to kind of integrate it over to where, me with I could put in who I am, like what my license is, what my experience is, how far I'm willing to travel, what I cost. And you can still bill your insurance company for me. Like if these are people, especially for home health care and hospice, I know that like I can work in a facility, I can work outside of a facility, and insurance can be billed for both. So, but I haven't seen it yet. And I feel like we've been in this for like, it's been a minute, it's been a couple of years, and
long minute.
we're still trying to flatten that curve. But now COVID's like gone, right? Like COVID's gone. The Canada truckers are gone. Everything all of a sudden is gone now.
Welcome to election season.
And it's right before elections. Like we're going to get rid of COVID. Bum. This, bum. Give them a war. Let's give them a war to kind of mix it up a little bit. And then we'll go right into elections.
Okay, so riddle me this. This is my household right now. My oldest one is freaking out because we're invading Ukraine, or she thinks that World War III is breaking out. So she's worried she's going to get drafted. And if she gets drafted, does she have to be vaxxed? Because if you're in the military, you have to be vaxxed. How old is she? She's 21.
And this is where her head just went?
This is where her head just went. Immediately. And then the middle one has no idea what's going on. Like Starbucks still has coffee. We're good. And then the youngest one's loading clips. Like, let's go. But like, this is where we're at. It's insane. And I'm trying to, like as a parent, keep it all together while
as mom, we're like, what the fuck are we supposed to do with this?
I did not get this manual. This was not in what to expect when you're expecting.
No, this was not in the what to expect. The toddler years, the first year, none of them. Like no one told me that at some point I'm going to sit my child down and be like, well, it all started when a gorilla got shot. Like, cause that's, I mean, like, yep. From there on out, like it's it's crazy, but it's important. But like at the same time, I almost feel like honored.
Yes. Yeah.
To be as twisted as that is. Like, I'm definitely not celebrating in any of this. I'm not like, well, we're at war. Like, no. But it's historically incredible. And I do like history. And I've always liked the history of things and how it all kind of comes to fruition. So that part I'm kind of here for. But like, how do I, as a mom, navigate that with these tiny little brains? And also, how do I know that what I think is right, and how much of that do I tell them and how much of this do I not tell them? Because I don't ever want to spin the narrative for my kids. I want my kids to be able, like my son came home and he's like, hey, Mom, did you know that we're really mad at Russia? I was like, who's we? Who's we? And he's like, I don't know, something's going on and America is mad at Russia. And I was like, okay. And then my, 1 year older daughter was like, they're not mad at Russia. They're mad at Putin because Putin is not doing what and I was like, do y'all even know what in God's name you're talking about right now?
Oh, they're on TikTok and their algorithms are different than ours.
And I was like, where are you guys seeing this? YouTube shorts? And I'm like, the fuck is that? I didn't even know what they were. And they're like, well, you said we couldn't be on TikTok. And there they are on YouTube shorts. I'm like, it's the same damn thing. Oh, yeah, that's what they're seeing is that like, and then have you been on TikTok recently?
Yeah.
Like, okay. I'm just going to say it. Is it just me or like, when the fuck did you ever see live streams from Ukraine?
Okay. I had this exact
thing. Right? And like all the gifting that they're getting coming in and they're like crying and they're hyperventilating and they're running around their houses and people are just gifting them. And I'm like, I've never seen this on my For You. Why is this all of a sudden now in my, like, I get, because I mean, I'm not even talking about it on my TikTok. I duetted one video and I threw up a video about a 10-minute video that was really cool that broke down how history repeats itself over time and how everyone should go watch it because they just should. It's a great little clip. But now Ukraine's all like, how did that happen?
Mine went straight from like Canadian Freedom Convoy TikTok to Ukraine TikTok. Right. And last night I told my husband, I was like, am I really watching a live stream of World War III about to kick off next to a baby goat video? Next to a makeup tutorial, which I will never pay attention to, back to bombing in the Ukraine. I'm like, this is like I'm watching the war on TikTok.
Well, I mean, CNN, did you see that one where CNN's clip on Instagram went from the war to an Applebee's commercial? And it like broke, and then all of a sudden, date not on a week. And I'm like, is World War III sponsored by Applebee's this year? What's
but it is.
But to me, like a lot of them, and someone in the comment section was like, it's on a loop. It restarts every hour. And I'm like, I don't believe you. My ass sat there for a whole hour to see. And sure as shit, it looped. Oh. Every hour, the live would loop with these people who are crying and saying that they have nowhere to go and they have all their gifts on. And so people are just dumping money into these accounts that are live right now. I'm like,
video though of the dad who had to say goodbye to his daughter at the train station because that one got me. I like my husband's like, what's wrong? I was like, we can't talk about it. Like, I mean, he's saying goodbye to his daughter, loading her onto a train to get her out to a safe zone, which I don't even know what that is at this point in time in Ukraine. But like,
because nobody knows what's even like at the end of the day, none of us know what the hell is going on in Ukraine. We can point out like, hey, this is really weird. Like why, like the biolabs, like why do the biolabs overlay the strike zones? I don't like that. That's weird to me. But this is also like really dangerous and really happening and really, really scary. And we could be looking at some shit show here in America because of it. And it is real. It is happening. They're just lying to you about why it's happening.
Well, and I think if anything, like one of the things that I took out of that Canadian trucker convoy was the fact that I was able to get on these different social media platforms and see for myself what was going on, even though people kept getting banned and blocked. And we all know we've been there, you know, you get to see it firsthand versus, you know, eating whatever the media is feeding you. Because, like, even this morning, I'm listening to the news, and down here in Texas, you know, of course, they're talking about the elections, and I just about come out of my skin. I get so mad because of how they spin it. I'm like, that's not accurate. That's not right. You're spinning the narrative, and it's absolute crap.
Well, and I always think it's weird when, like, with if Fox and CNN are agreeing,
Yeah,
and they're saying all the same things, that makes me more unhinged and nervous than anything. I don't like when it's one. There's so many different sides to it, because you can go on Snapchat maps and see this person that lives in this area who's living their best life, and it doesn't even look like anything's happening there.
Right.
And then 5 blocks down the road, all hell's breaking loose. Both are true.
Yep.
Both are happening at the same time, you know, like, but at the end of the day, like, you're watching a war take place in between people dancing and trends and makeup videos and guys getting kicked in the balls.
Those are my favorite.
That's my favorite part. And then, yeah, and then you do have accounts living in the US that was sharing updates. Was she wearing a hat? Because I think I saw her too, and I followed her. I really liked her. There are some people who are reporting this, and they seem to be very, like, non-biased, you know, like, hey, this is weird, but I'm not saying that that's absolutely what's happening. Like, we get in this dangerous part when we're like, this is what it is. It's this and only this, and I'm right and you're wrong. It's okay, let's just keep fighting then, I guess. Everybody still wants to fight.
And I think this is a good reminder to the United States, too, that in this situation, Russia doesn't care how those Ukrainians voted. They're just going after the country. Like, this is a point in time where you're going to have to put some differences aside and realize there's a greater goal. You know, like, we're all Americans for a reason. So find your common ground, have your opinions, hold them, vote accordingly. I don't care. Just be educated. And you know what? Buckle up, because this is also, I think, a really good reminder to the fact that I don't think the American education system has done anybody any justice, especially recently. Like, this generation, they don't even know about World War II, the one that, you know, like you and I are raising. You know, they don't understand how much of an impact this has, and they don't understand the history. So when, you know, like, my daughter she texted me and she goes, "Oh, it's going down. Russia and Ukraine are going at it." And I said, "Do you understand how historically relevant this is?" "Nope." Well, you should, because this is not a new brawl.
No, it's not. And the same thing happens, like, every 80 to 90 years or so.
Sure. And, you know, like you said, the history repeats itself. I saw something today, the meme that made me laugh, and it said, "I'm really tired of being a part of historical events." And I was like, I feel you.
Last year and a half, that's all we've heard is, this has never happened before. This has never happened before. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Due to unprecedented events.
Due to unprecedented.
So sick of that term.
All right, Allison. Well, we have hit our 1 hour mark, and thank you so much for coming on. And guys, thank you for coming to my second show ever. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back next Friday with our guest next Friday, which I do believe is spiritual warfare. I will have a promo video up for that. Allison, how can we follow you? How can we support you?
Well, you can go follow anything that's Chad Prather for governor. That's where the biggest support comes from. And if you're in Texas, get out and vote in the primary elections, which are today and then March 1st. You can find me on Instagram at Allison May, and it's MAI. So you can find me there. Other than that, you'll probably find me if you're scrolling through TikTok on Canadian trucker videos or baby goats.
Baby goats. All right, Allison, thank you so much again for coming on.
Of course. See you
All
later.
right, bye. Oh, I almost did the same.